Get ready for a great show.
Black space is a place for us.
Real people with real issues.
Discussing real topics.
Black space.
A safe space for our community.
Hello, I'm George Middleton, your host this evening on this podcast episode of Black Space Live. For the topic of our discussion today, we are going to interview a dynamic young brother who is about to blow your mind. Just to mess with your brain, I'm going to read the title of this show, and you'll soon see what I'm talking about. Get ready. I had to write it down because if I try to commit it to memory, I would get tongue-tied. Shaftless Auger Microwave Pyrolysis Reactor. Turning plastic waste into fuel. Say that 3 times fast. Before we get started, however, I'd like to take this time briefly to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. In other words, don't be selfish with this content. Share the love. You can catch Black Space Live on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and Spotify. And you can catch us on Anchor FM, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. So, as I said, we have a dynamic young brother, and I mean young and dynamic. Again, he's going to blow your mind. His name is Mr. Julian Brown. Mr. Brown, please take some time and let the audience introduce yourself to the audience and let them know anything that you think they should know about you.
Hello, people. My name is Julian Brown. Very glad to be here tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. George, for having me. And I'm an innovator of microwave pyrolysis, and that is the process of turning plastic waste and turning it into fuel using microwave heating. Now, I've been working on this device for about 3 years. I've gotten to a point where I have a patent pending on my unique design, and my intentions are to have this device in every single city of the world, cleansing the world of plastic waste, creating a circular economy, and creating jobs for people, and most importantly, giving people the liberation of energy.
Okay, so let's make sure that they really got to have a true understanding of whom they're speaking with. Did you tell them how old you were?
I'm 19.
And how old were you when you started this project?
16.
The Shaftless Auger Microwave Pyrolysis Reactor, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you came up with this concept at what age?
16.
16. Amazing. So I'm familiar with your story, but what I would like to do is make sure that the audience is familiar with your story. When I first heard your story, I'm like, this brother, first of all, you told it just in a very simple fashion, and right from the very start, I resonated with you, and so I really want the audience to get the chance to connect with you. Please share the story of how this whole thing came about.
All right, I'll start from the very beginning. So, in my high school years, I was in a welding program. So half the school year, my junior and senior year, I would spend half the day doing regular high school classes, half the day at my welding program, learning welding. So in 2020, that is when, of course, we had the whole situation with lockdown and all that. But when we came back the next semester after that, right, that is when I really started looking into building my own device, etc. Because I've always been an environmentalist in sense of I think of solutions for the environment. I think of, I saw waste as a huge thing because for example, I compost all of my family's food waste, my own food waste, and I see the value. We call these things trash, but there's so much value behind it. So I put my mind to that question of plastic. Okay, well, how can plastic be converted that way? So the seeds were already planted in my mind at that time. Now, I had an injury that happened to me around near the end of 2020, I believe it was, around November 18th, I believe. My hand had got cut, right? My tendon was completely cut. My hand did not move. My thumb on this thumb here did not move. I think I still have the injury. Yeah, the scar. So in that process, I was not able to weld. I was not able to do almost anything I wanted to do because my hand didn't work. And that was the time where it was the incubator phase. I was just thinking, all I could do was research. And, like I said, the seeds were set before with me already thinking of waste, what can be done with waste. And I eventually thought about it like this. I saw an article. It said there are 3 billion masks in the ocean just in 2020, right? The height of all this stuff, whatever. We just started. And I thought about it. Okay, masks are thrown in the ocean. Why aren't they being recycled? Because we don't want to recycle something that's contaminated like that, right? It's plastic. It's contaminated with, whatever. So how can you truly destroy it? Well, incinerators exist. We burn it, but everybody knows what happens when you burn plastic, right? A lot of toxins are released. But you need a similar process that almost burns it in a controlled way. And that's how I found pyrolysis. Now, pyrolysis is the process of breaking down something with heat in the absence of oxygen. If you ever heard of the fire triangle, there's a triangle that fire needs. Fire needs heat, it needs fuel, and it needs oxygen or air. We're providing heat and fuel, but no oxygen. So what happens when you do that is the plastic does not burn. It does not release those toxins that you get from when you burn plastic. Instead, it is broken down into its basic components. Plastic is made of crude oil, petroleum, just like our fuels that we use every day, diesel, gasoline, etc. It's made of those things. It's basically the solid form of it. So in this process, we are pretty much refining the plastic into its base components. So from this point, I did my research. I knew it was possible.
Now, before you did your research, before you got wholly into it, you mentioned that you were really depressed. You were really upset, as you were just into full-on depression about the fact that there was seemingly no solution to the accumulating trash of plastic, and you said you had a fear that we were all just going to be buried under trash. And then someone very important to you, you said you remembered what this person told you. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes.
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So I became pessimistic.
Yes.
When I read the article saying that there were billions of masks in the ocean, I'm like, what are we going to do? I go outside, I see plastic waste everywhere. I'm like, we will be buried in this stuff at this rate. And even if we're not buried, beyond that, literally you're saying it's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. There's microplastic in human blood. Like, it's an absolute disaster, right?
It's a mess.
And I remembered in that moment just thinking like that, I remember my mom always told me my whole life. She always tell me, Julian, if there's a problem, there's a solution.
Mm.
And that is what truly sparked this journey, because when I open my mind like that, there is a solution.
Oh, wow.
I gotta find what it is, but there is a solution.
Wow.
And
Julian, let me tell you, I'm hearing you say it, and I've heard it before, and I get the same chills hearing you say it that I got when I first heard you tell that story. And you're just so inspiring. Your youth, your intelligence, and your passion, brother. Man, this is just I'm almost tongue tied right now because I'm just so impressed with you. And I think anybody who hears you is going to do that. Now you're getting ready to change the world.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much.
So I'm going to give you some time just to kind of go into the technological aspect, and then I want to deal into some of the social issues that I'm sure you're aware of that may be either, depending how you look at it, can be opportunities, challenges, can be received positively, negatively, because you're upsetting some traditional ways of operating. So how did you get this idea? Where did you mentioned this was in shop class? How did you get the idea to put this shaftless auger, microwave, I'm probably getting the words out of order, shaftless auger,
Yeah, you're right.
microwave pyrolysis reactor.
Yeah.
Amazing. How did you get that idea? Just tell us how that developed.
Sure. So welding shop, as I was saying, I did my research to know that this was possible. I saw just an article online, Instructables actually, said how to build a pyrolysis reactor. Simple. All right. So I just put together my first one. It literally was just a piece of metal. In fact, it was a 55-gallon drum, right? That I just put plastic in, and then I would just heat it up, because once again, the only difference between this and just burning plastic is there's no oxygen. So you just have to heat it in a closed container. 55-gallon drum, had some pipes coming out for the fuel to exit, heated it up, and then I built a smaller one, same process. I was heating it up with propane, a propane burner under it. Now, in doing that for a couple months, I couldn't help but realize how inefficient it was when you heated it up that way. So think about it like this. When you're heating something in a container with a propane burner, the heat from the flame needs to travel into the container. And the heat that travels to the container needs to travel to the plastic. So it's indirect. There are so many areas for heat to be lost between that process, between those transitions. So I knew, okay, if this technology is going to move forward, there needs to be some innovation done. So I was thinking, okay, how can we make it more efficient? What is something that heats things very efficiently? It has to be electric based, right? I was walking around one night, I looked at my microwave, and I was like, you heat up things quickly.
Wow.
And from that point on, I started to experiment with microwave pyrolysis. So you see how it's coming together? There's the microwave pyrolysis reactor part of it. I built my first ever microwave pyrolysis reactor at that point. All these experiments. I was over here taking apart microwaves. I had videos of like microwaves with flames coming out of them and stuff. Wow. It's crazy stuff. But I built my first one, and I noticed, okay, it works great. It's so much more efficient. It works so much better. However, there's a huge issue. Your microwave, what does it have on the inside of it that spins around?
Yeah, with that the
turntable.
Yeah, the turntable. That's good. Okay.
Exactly. It has a turntable because it needs everything to be.
That serves a purpose. Yeah, it distributes the energy.
Exactly, my brother. So when I had built my first ever reactor, there was no type of turntable in there. So the plastic would be half broken down. I would have a lot of it break down, turn into fuel, but then some of it wouldn't. Yeah. So then that's where the true innovation came in. The shaftless auger. Now, what the shaftless auger is, think about it like a DNA spiral. It's pretty much a metal screw in there that is going horizontal, and it allows the plastic to be spun as it's in there, agitated, move forward, but also, get the maximum surface area with the microwaves. That was my next design, right? So at that point, when I incorporated the shaftless auger, I was up to Mark III, because my first two prototypes had no type of agitation in them, no type of turning going on.
Right.
So that's how we got the shaftless auger microwave pyrolysis reactor. But you can just call it SAMPER for short.
Okay.
Yeah.
Samper.
So in terms of the shaftless
like
auger, what makes it so special, the shaftless auger in there, what makes it so special is microwaves reflect off of metal. They reflect off of metal. They absorb into water, into materials, right? And they pass through certain objects. They're called microwave transparent objects. So if you were to have an auger with a regular shaft in there, right, the microwaves would hit the shaft instead of hitting the plastic, and you would waste like half the microwaves just to it reflecting off the shaft. But the shaftless auger allows for, since there's no shaft, maximum surface area interaction with microwaves, with every single turn of it with the plastic, right? So that's the true innovation in this process.
Amazing. And you know what, the way that you explained it, I'm not super mechanically inclined, but you explained it in a way where logically I could follow the process. So that means you haven't even gone to college yet. This knowledge, this creativity, this talent, would you call it raw? I mean, this is just raw, isn't it? Did you get all of this from the shop? I've had shop class. Now, considerably, I'm older than you, as you can tell. So I'm sure shop class in my day is a lot different than shop class in your day. There's probably a lot more technology based in it. But did all of this inspiration come from shop class, or did you have prior knowledge? Is there somebody in your family who was also inclined this way? How did this come about? What's the origination of your talent?
Yeah, what it was, shop class is what gave me the skills to weld, to be able to build it. In terms of my skills, well, my dad, he's really into science. He was in chemistry when he was in school, so that's kind of like where the science part of it comes from. My mom's side of the family, her father, all her people were all into mechanical stuff, building cars, all this type of stuff. Same on my dad's side as well. So, they came together and kind of gifted me with those genetics of being mechanically inclined. I've always built things with my hands. That's why when I had my hand cut and I couldn't build things, it was really like traumatic. Because I always be building with Legos, always be building jewelry, building wood stuff in the garden, whatever. Anything with my hands, I'd always be doing.
Wow. This is awesome. Man, this is awesome. I mean, I'm just getting so filled up, man. You're inspiring on so many levels. Let me take some time to and forgive me if I keep saying this over and over, Julian. It's just that the world needs more of what you bring. We hear all of the negative things, and right now we're in just mass chaos. And you pick the system, it's chaos.
Right.
And here you are, man. Wise beyond your years. You're only 19?
Yes, sir.
And your passion is a huge problem for the world. And it also taps into some major social political issues that we're going to get into. Let's see. Queen M's Kitchen says, amazing. Wow. Super proud of you, young man.
Thank you.
Let's see. I'm going to start from the top here because people are just all on it, man. Let's see. Paul Curious says, that's crazy impressive. Jean Lausier says, This is great.
Like Tony the Tiger.
Yeah. Omar Leslie says the positive energy is real. Imagine the whole world running around to get plastic because it's the new goal. This will clean up the earth. Maya Amor says genius. Omar Leslie says so smart. Man, all this name calling going on here. Is all this name calling necessary? Norvellin Dunbar says amazing. Queen M's Kitchen says amazing. Wow, super proud of you, young man. I think I read that already. Justin, this young prodigy is an amazing example of young Black excellence. Justin also asks, is there a service where I could directly donate to the project? David E. Leslie says, you are on your way. That's a great invention. Tate Mulliner says, we have a website. Is this somebody you know, or is this a question?
Yeah, he's somebody I know.
Okay.
We do have a website, yes.
Tate, would you please type that website on the chat there for everybody? And then Tate says, it's not a major problem, it's a major possibility.
Ooh, I like
Ooh,
that.
Tate.
I like that.
Ooh, Tate,
Well, I work with him.
Tate is gonna drop it like that on the chat. Okay, I got you. You know, like minds, great minds.
Think alike.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is powerful. So there was one in here. I missed him. It was in here. I must have skipped it by. But okay, Dom B. And this kind of segues into my next area. He says, this brother needs protection. So I want to mind that a little bit. My next question is, how is your concept, if you've taken it this far, how is this going over with corporate America?
Elaborate.
Well, you know, when I hear your story, I remember as a kid watching the movie on Ford and how he got started. And I believe that's the right one of the early car makers. And how he had a groundbreaking way of improving the product. But the traditional economic structures wanted to buy him out or pay him off or keep him from releasing the upgrade because they liked the current system. It was profitable. We're in an age where the politics of climate control, our relationship with the earth is a huge issue. And there's two sides. There's those who have a passion about protecting our earth, as you stated earlier. And there are those who feel like I've got my rights and, you know, we're a capitalist society and we dominate. We're put here to dominate the earth. You know, what do they call them? Tree huggers or anybody who's pro earth. And so there's that push and pull, and it's a huge, intensely polarized issue.
Right.
Has any of this dawned on you in terms of how your work is going to fit in or integrate within this social chaos?
It's a great question. I believe that my work fits in. It's a perfect balance between the two. And I say that because speaking on the environmental side, we're cleaning up plastic waste. That's huge. We're making a circular economy, truly recycling, all of these amazing environmental sides of things. But even for the side of people who don't really care about the environment, right? We're creating fuel. We're creating fuel that runs your trucks, or that runs your cars, boats, tractors, whatever. Wow. So this is truly a thing that anybody and everybody, you know, can appreciate, because it touches on every front. And that's how you know when you're doing something real, when you know it's It's really just there.
Okay, so let's back up for a minute because I was still just getting over the invention and the purpose of breaking down plastics in order to be more harmonious to the earth. That I totally missed what you just said because I'm sure you said it earlier. You're also creating fuel.
Yes.
Okay, so for me, I'm very remedial. Tell me again how you're creating the fuel.
So plastic goes in the chamber. Chamber is closed. All the oxygen is pushed out. Microwave heating starts to heat the plastic. Plastic breaks down. It melts. Then it breaks down into a vapor. That vapor is like the vapor form of crude oil, pretty much. So that vapor goes into a condenser, right? That condenser steals the heat from it and turns it into the oil, similar to how clouds condense into rain. It's just like that, right? So oil is then formed, or not? Well, yeah, it's formed after the condenser. It goes through the condenser, and then we collect that oil. Now there are also some vapors that do not condense, right? Those vapors end up being like natural gas. Because once the plastic is put into that chamber and it's broken down into that vapor, it is no longer plastic. It is chemically a different product. It is a chemical change.
Wow.
So we're not making plastic fuel, it's fuel.
And how are you storing this fuel right now?
Well, I'm currently not storing it. Well, actually, I do have some storage, but I just have it, just in containers.
Okay, so have you discovered uses for this fuel, the applications of the fuel already, or is that an area that's secondary to your primary goal?
We have absolutely found the applications. So I'll break it down. When we get the oil out of it, when it's condensed, that oil is a mix of oils. As I was telling you, plastic is a product of petroleum, crude oil. And just like crude oil is a mix of all these oils together, diesel, kerosene, gasoline, all mixed together, motor oil, blah, blah, blah. We need to separate all those things out. So we get the oil raw, then we need to distill it, the same process they do the crude oil. We distill it and we get just the gasoline, just the diesel, just the kerosene. I have done that. I have put the gasoline product I've got into an engine. The engine has run. I've put the diesel product I got into a diesel engine. It has run.
You actually put it in an engine?
Yes, sir.
Who allowed you to use their car to try out this fuel? I want to know. And tell me how you even came up to, what did this person say? Hey, I got this stuff I want to put in here. Tell me how did this happen?
You know what? I have not put it in a car yet. That is the next step.
Okay.
I put it in a gasoline weed whacker. I've put it in a diesel go-kart engine.
Okay.
A car is the next step.
Awesome.
You see, we're building up.
It makes sense. That's the scientifically accurate way of building your data.
Exactly.
So, when you get ready to go to the first car, are you videoing these?
Every single time I've run an engine, it's been live. So if it had messed up, I put it all on the line. But I have all the videos.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a great show. This is going to be a show, a documentary, something. Everything you're doing is money right now. So there's so many questions I want to ask you. So give me your big picture of, do you have a corporate name? Is this a company? Is this what's your big picture with this work? Because I'm sure this is going to blend. This is going to weed off, or what I'm trying to say. The tentacles are just going to go off in so many directions. Branch off. You're fixing a huge problem, but then there's going to be so many other applications from that. And in addition, there was just a recent discovery, well, not discovery, but a recent achievement in the area of fusion, where they're able to recreate the conditions of the atom because you put enough heat. And it's interesting how heat is the tie here in terms of creating energy, which is what you're doing. Right. And you're probably familiar with this recent achievement, but like the sun does, and that's how we get the energy from the sun. They were able to recreate the conditions of the fusion. I can't think of the name of the location, but they were able to create energy that exceeded the energy they used in the process, which was huge. Now here's the other aspect of it, which was I just found amazing, is that the setup they use with the lasers and the heat producing tools, they can only use it once per day. It takes so much energy to fuse these atoms to create the energy that they can only do it once. Wow. It doesn't sound like you're having that issue with your process. This is a process that can continue to generate, or am I off there?
Absolutely. This process does continue to generate. And a point I did want to touch on, a huge part of this is microwaves are generated through electricity, right? Now, electricity, that can come from many sources. It can come from coal power plants. It can also come from solar, wind, nuclear. It could be fission or fusion. So we can take solar energy, wind energy, any type of renewable energy, and use that to turn our trash into a renewable fuel. So that right there is just the idea of because it's always been, solar panels, you have to use an electric car. You can't drive a gas car off of solar panels. Now you can.
Right. You're opening up a whole new market, man.
Absolutely.
So give me your big vision. You're only 19. What does your life look like with your work?
Well, it certainly is going to be a lot of work, but I'm all in for it. This year especially is going to be a huge year for this project, and it's going to go beyond just a project this year. It's going to really start to go into an industrial, serious level. When it comes down to my life with the project, I'm willing to do what I need to do to make it work. I believe this is my purpose, my mission here, and I'm just going to work hard and get it done.
From the business perspective, what have you taken all the legal steps, and you're playing in the corporate on the corporate football field, and only the strong survive, and there's rules, but then there's loopholes, and there's all kinds of politics and all that. Have you started exploring that system of survival, so to speak?
Yeah, I have, and getting the patent filed was definitely a huge step forward in that, because especially I've shown so much online. I've shown me building it online before I even had the patent done, written up. So getting that filed was huge. But then in terms of what you're talking about, I'm sure you're talking about competition.
Yes.
Companies wanting to shut me down and all that.
Right.
Ultimately, here's the thing. These companies are huge.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing this for years. They've been here for so long. They're not going to let anybody just come up and move them out the way.
Right.
The key is not to fight them, but to work with them.
Okay.
In a way, you have to let them know how this is going to benefit them. Mm-hmm. So once again, plastic is made of crude oil, right? Mm-hmm. Oil companies drill the crude oil. Well, oil companies, they've been getting hit pretty hard by the government and just the environmentalists in general. They're like, you need to start doing something, right? A process like this, they get behind this. It looks great for them because now they're behind something that is a part of helping the environment. And also, we're dealing with the product of plastic, which they're creating. On top of that, we are creating oil that can be sent to their already existing oil refineries for them to refine it. So at the end of the day, that's how we have to do it. We have to look at it in terms of how can we not replace you, but just add to you. And the same goes for waste management and recycling industries. Both of those industries are multi-billion-dollar industries, and we're tapping into that. We don't want to replace any of the waste management stuff. We want to work with them. Maybe instead of us making our own recycling company, we work with already existing recycling companies. They pick up the recycling bin from your house, right. Give the plastic to us. We deal with it, that type of thing.
So you've been thinking about it. Okay. And maybe these are also services that you can provide. You're not only, all of those peripheral services based on organizational mission.
Right.
I mean, collaboration is always the more preferred way, but not everybody wants to collaborate. Some people, they have there can only be one mentality. Let's go to some of the comments again here. Let's see. Kyle Horton. Let's see. Tate, your boy. I think he's giving me a compliment here. I'm not going to read that one, no, but thank you, Tate. Kyle Horton says every American consumes around 5 grams of microplastics a week. Interesting.
Yeah.
Or about a debit card worth. Think of that. This is tell us about that. This is revolutionary for the humanity when scale. What do you mean consuming 5 grams of microplastics?
Yeah, so there's just so many microplastics in the water, in food, even in the air, right? That all collectively coming together and ends up being about as much as a debit card. Yeah. Oh, I don't got my wallet right there. I was about to pull it.
Unreal.
But yeah, that much. And a technology like this, one of the reasons why there's so many microplastics is because of all the plastics in the ocean, right? Mm-hmm. Since they're in the ocean breaks down, the sun breaks down micro, and that gets back into our food supply. It's easy for that to happen. We water our plants with that same water. Well, not really. It's salt water, but basically it's pretty easy for water to get back into our food supply.
Into our supply. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you're talking about cancers and other kinds of physical maladies.
Who knows what that does? It's so recent. Yeah.
Who knows? Gene Lozia says, I've watched his videos on TikTok, and he even turns trash into fuel. And I think you mentioned that.
I actually did not mention that.
Amazing. You did not. Okay, go ahead.
That this technology goes beyond just plastic waste. It does go into just trash as a whole. It can turn any type of organic matter into fuel. I've done food waste. I've done tires. I've done just any type of organic waste. I've done grass clippings. All that wood chips. It turns it all into fuel.
You crazy, man. You crazy.
It's the Back to the Future device, that Mr. Fusion, you just put it all in there. It's going to turn into fuel.
Don B says, because they done it to a guy who invented free energy and had a similar idea of getting the world to go with it. So that was in response to my earlier concern or question or curiosity about how corporate America is receiving what you're, and you're only 19. So the reality is that this is not going to be your last contribution to society. I don't know if you are. You probably already have a list of things already on the hopper. But even if not, I'm telling you, man, your mind. If you're just starting with this, I'm going to be truly scared to see what you're going to end up with, because this is big stuff right here. Tate says, well, and fusion isn't going to be commercially available for a while. That's right. It's going to take them a minute. All the while, when that's being developed, we can fuel the current engines without drilling for more oil. Wow, dude.
And even when fusion is developed, we can just power the reactors off of fusion energy. So This is like this type of technology is the type of technology. Once this is done right, which I will assure you, it will be done right. I will do it right. This will exist for the rest of humanity. This is the next step for civilization to fill in that next hole that we've had, which is the trash, landfills, all that just wasted energy. This is completely solving that. Necessary.
Yeah. And then Tate also says, we're not here to replace big oil. We're here to upgrade big oil.
Yeah, I like that upgrade.
And then Don B says, they will take your shit and leave you with nothing. You can't trust the big companies. So let's address that for a minute. Capitalism is about competition, and they find all kinds of ways to get themselves. Successful companies find all kinds of ways to get themselves to establish their presence in whatever market, and it's all about dominate.
Right.
It'd be great if capitalism was about collaborate, but it's really run on dominate. But I would like to think that there is, since the George Floyd stuff and then the COVID-19 stuff, that people are starting to realize that we're all connected, and how we treat our fellow man makes a difference. And COVID has revealed the way we've been treating each other as a society. Just some serious systemic abuses that we just take for granted. We just treating each other in ways that you wouldn't treat your dog.
Right.
So what Don B is saying, there's a lot of validity to that. And when I'm telling you, you're 19, I hate bringing this up this way, because the purpose of this is not to kill your spirit, man. I mean, you're a young gun, ready to go, full of testosterone, idealism, vision. You're a 19-year-old with vision, at the same time, I always want to encourage you to, research some of the other great inventionists and learn from their histories, so that you can be aware for what's the possibilities are. But on a positive note, I think one of your strongest tools of defense is social media, which you are using, and creating your presence. I mean, first of all, your social skills. That's probably your most, next to your intelligence, is your next most valuable, powerful skill. Your intelligence can be easily perceived as threatening to those who, are to the insecure, right? Because why be threatened by someone else's talent, right? But unfortunately, we have a lot of insecurity going on in the cultural fabric of our country. But what offsets that is you have this great smile, very handsome young man. You speak amazingly. I mean, it's just your communication skills. You can just cut through all that stuff and people hear you. That's powerful.
Thank you.
Your ability of communication and likability. You've got all these things. The story you tell. I want to challenge you or encourage you, if you're not already there, to work on continuing to brand yourself in a way that you become America's darling, because you could easily be that.
That's protection there as well.
Yes. And it's all natural skill sets. And and I love what you said about not fighting. That's first of all, it's no fun.
Yeah.
And when you're getting into a fight, you're playing on someone else's game, and you want to play your game, so that, in any competition, the winner is usually the one that can get his opponent to play his game. When you get lured into someone else's game, now they have you.
Right.
So to find ways to continue to create the environment so whoever steps in your arena has to play your game. Not only has to play it, but wants to play it.
You know, I'm a black belt in karate, and despite that, I've never been in a fight in my life because one of the things that I've learned, they say you win 100% of the fights you never get in. The truth is,
Love it.
you know, the truth is when you look at it in any type of combat situation,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can win, but you know everybody's gonna have some type of injury, some type of hurt at the end. You know, it's always better to, as you say, collaborate. But as you also say, we're in the capitalistic structure of domination, and you know, first of all, I do have a very strong faith that this is what is necessary for all of this music playing.
Keep going, brother. Keep
Okay,
talking.
yeah. This is what's necessary for all of humanity. And that I have been bestowed this mission to do. And no matter what happens all around me, this will be done, right? I have that faith. But even beyond that, there are ways to kind of slither amongst the capitalistic cracks. Use capitalism as a tool for you. You know, make the companies have an advantage to being with you. Give them a reason. You know, there's ways to do it. There's a way to make it work. Of course, it's a dangerous game. I'm aware of that. But I also believe that if there's a problem, there's a solution.
Wow. At 19.
19.
Man, let me tell you, when I was your age, I was a blithering idiot. I had no clue. You are really, really inspiring. There's so much more that I want to mine from you, but we're running out of time. I really appreciate the comments from everybody that participated. They're still coming in. I'm hoping our producer gets an opportunity to get you again. This may be our first and last time because we may not be able to get to you in the next few weeks, man. You are going to be one busy young man.
Indeed.
But personally, go ahead.
I very much enjoyed the time with you and meeting you, brother.
Yes.
Great.
This has been a highlight for me. It's a highlight for Black Space Live. Because this is history. We're gonna be able to say, yeah, we interviewed that brother because, man, you're a rocket. But just so many other things. I work as a therapist and a mentor with kids, and I'm going to make sure in all my mentor classes they're going to see your face. They're going to see your work. You're going to be, for me, a major tool in my work with young people and helping them to strengthen their resiliency and have a vision in their life. And I'm sure that's going to be another area for you. People are going to be asking for you to come talk to their groups and stuff.
And I love that. I really appreciate that because beyond all else, I want to inspire. That's one of the biggest tools we have in this world.
There's so many routes, and I don't know if you've written a book yet, but man, get ready, start writing. You've got so much stuff, man. I mean, my God, this is amazing, just amazing. Whew. Okay, Julian Brown. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being part of our show. Thank you to those in the chat. This has been Black Space Live. I'm George Middleton. Have a great week. And until the next time we meet, we'll see you in the Black Space.